Welcome to This Week in Jacksonville Business Edition. I'm Kent Justice. In this podcast, we focus on economic development in the River City and throughout our region. And this is what is called in Jacksonville Celebration of Valor this week, celebrating veterans and our military community. So in that light, makes sense to me to talk about the impact of veterans in the military when it comes to economic development. So joining me for our conversation, Michelle McManaman, the CEO of Operation New Uniform. Also with us, David Cotton, the manager of corporate communications for Swisher. And Michelle, why don't we start here? Now, 10 years for ONU, which is awesome. So just take a moment to briefly explain the mission.
Oh, I thought you said take a moment to breathe. But
yes,
okay,
right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
After 10 years, and we have known each other for at least that.
Yeah.
And you've been around helping us. Thank you for all that you've done for ONU over the years. So
absolutely.
It truly is an honor to do what we get to do every day for Operation Uniform, the veterans, the military spouses. Active duty, we've been working with more active duty than ever before to help them transition successfully out of the military and into the business community, to think about careers versus jobs. I mean, anybody can get a job.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that lightly, but the truth is you can get a job, something hourly. When you come through ONU, our mission is to help you find a career, something that's going to get you excited every morning when you wake up. Instead of what we've heard our military having struggles with is going through the motions and just doing something because they have to feed their family, or just getting anything because they don't know what else to do, or how do I translate my skills into something that's going to be
a big question.
Yeah, and something that's going to be fulfilling and rewarding for me and my family. So that is what ONU is. We teach them how to be more confident, more effective. We teach them how to sell themselves out in the business community.
Yeah. So, David, the reason that we've got Swisher involved here, awesome. Swisher made a $50,000 commitment to Operation New Uniform so students can work through the transition training program at no charge. Why is that important for your company? Obviously, other companies are probably looking at this and saying, maybe I need to do that too.
Well, first of all, you just heard how great of an organization this is. It's proof that the work they're doing is making an impact in our community, and we felt very strongly as we sort of reevaluated our community impact strategy this year, what organizations do we want to focus on and impact? So we've seen the work that they've done. We've actually hired ONU graduates at Swisher, so we've seen firsthand the skills that they bring into the workforce. And it's just really, it's part of our core values, it's part of our DNA to Swisher to celebrate our veteran population.
So let's get this out on the table. Either of you veterans. I'm not a veteran. Either of you veterans.
I am not.
And?
I am not.
And yet, what I sense is, but all three of us really appreciate and honor the service of folks who have served and sacrificed in the military. And one of the things that stands out to me, Michelle, is that you hear stories of our veterans and what they achieved, what they did, their jobs that they had while serving. You say, yeah, of course that translates to the civilian world. And yet it's almost like speaking a different language sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, well, that's a perfect way to put it. We had one veteran say, I felt like I was dropped in another country and not knowing the language. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know what to do. It was so foreign to them. So absolutely, that is such a huge part of the challenge. And it's not just, think about this, it's not just for the veteran themselves, but think about the military spouse. Think about the spouse, that what they've done all their lives and their careers with their husband or wife, depending on which one is serving, is they have to do all of that transitioning stuff too every time they move, with the kids, with doctors, with all that stuff. And then they come out, they have these gaps in their resume, and they're like, who's going to hire me? Well, I know who's going to hire you. First of all, you're smart. You're able to put things together. You can do logistics. You can keep people happy. So you're a good leader, if you can keep those little ones happy. But between that and then now with our active duty folks coming to us more so now than ever, they're even afraid of what's going to happen when they get out. Yeah. So
you mentioned active duty. So people who are still in, are they getting ready to transition? And so in that last year or so, usually military have about a year, I would guess, that they say, okay, I'm going to put in my papers and now there's going to be a process. Those are the active duty that are coming to you?
Yeah, so that's called their terminal leave. So usually once they're in that stage of the game, they can start getting a hold of potential employers, resources like us that can do it, to call, a contact at Swisher and say, hey, look, I'm going to be getting out soon. Can you help me out? Have a cup of coffee with me? Things like that. Those are things that are really important. But we're trying, because our classes are full, we're trying really hard to get the active duties when they're only about 3 months out. Anything more than that, they still have time.
Is it too soon?
It's too soon. It really is. They don't know what they don't know, and that's sometimes good and sometimes bad. Yeah. If you've been out, even just for a little while, and you see the challenges of throwing out resumes, blanket resumes to people that they don't know you. It's not getting through an ATS system, which we all know is the hiring system. They can't get a resume through there because they haven't made a contact. So what we're looking to do is help them reach the community, get to know everybody in their community, network, that foreign word that they don't know.
Oh, yeah. David, how does Swisher approach that? And is there, beyond a partnership here with ONU, is there an element for Swisher that says, hey, we want to make sure that we are attractive to veterans who want to plug in our business?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a military town, it's no surprise that Swisher has a large employee population represented by veterans. We launched a veteran employee resource group this year, which brings together veterans, folks who have, maybe their spouse is a veteran or they just care about these causes. And it's something that resonates with us as a company and our employees. As it concerns our partnership with ONU, I think one of the great benefits that we see for their participants is coming into Swisher and just having a casual conversation with our leaders. Say you want to get into data science, you want to get into operations. Well, you may not be at the point where you want to apply for a position, but you can come and talk to us and say, hey, what is this all about? How do my skills translate? And we're happy to do it. And what we've seen is their skills not only translate, they translate very well, especially from a company's perspective that does consumer products.
Well, and in these last 3 years, especially since the start of pandemic, boy, we're almost 4 years. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
So, since the start of 2020, what we've seen is all these workforce challenges. And yet, when you look at it, my research at end of 2022, Florida Military and Defense Economic Impact Summary said 1.5 million veterans live in Florida, so the third largest population in the U.S. of veterans. And of course, throughout the state, 21 military bases, 107,000 active duty service members in Florida. That's the fifth largest population in the U.S. So for companies who are saying, hey, we want to access this labor pool, this workforce pool, there's some great opportunity there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you've got your standard, your LinkedIn's, your different talent recruitment specialists, and every company has that. But when you can form a relationship and a true partnership with a company like ONU, a nonprofit like ONU, there's a pipeline developed and there's a relationship developed over time. So we can go to their graduations with our talent recruitment team, meet these folks face to face, and maybe there's not an opportunity today, but they've established the contact. And we can also share with them, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's some positions we know are coming online in the next year. If you have graduates who match these skill sets, send them our way.
Yeah. Michelle, what would you say about the impact that veterans, especially those who come through a process like ONU, what's the impact they make on our local economy, regional, even statewide?
Yeah, I love that question. First of all, I got to make sure I address that Swisher is one of our greatest partners. I mean, really are blessed to have organizations like you to be able to be there for us, because it costs a little over $5,000 a head to go through our program for our veterans, and they don't pay a dime to come through our program. We don't charge our companies that hire our veterans, so I guess you can look at it as a really poor business model. But you know what? With the grace of God, every single day we get to be his hands and feet, and he blesses us abundantly. So I don't feel like the business model's poor. I think it's God's business plan is different than mine, So absolutely. I'm pleased to be able to say that. I also am pleased to be able to say that in this last fiscal year, we go by the state fiscal year because we are also blessed by some money from the state. We have an average salary of $81,000 that our folks are making when they graduate our program within 4 months of graduation, with a 97% success rate.
And so that's a little bit the difference between a job and a career.
Correct. Right? Well, I would think so. I mean, I think a job is probably, you could figure out hourly how much is, $20 an hour, whatever it minimum wage is. But then you look at that and have a career where an organization is really supporting you to grow. And it's not, maybe that first place that you get into might not be the place, but it may be a stepping stone that's going to get you to something even better. But the economic impact is pretty cool. We just had in 2023 18 hires, which equates to over $1 million in economic impact. Okay. So we have, that's just in 2023.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so we're pretty excited about the numbers for overall. For some reason, I don't have them right in front of me, but it's millions of dollars of what we've been able to do when you look at the salaries of all the folks that have gone through our program and add that up throughout the United States. What we've been able to give back to the community is incredible. And these were our veterans.
I'm letting some of that just sink in, even that $81,000 salary on average. But I think back to my point earlier, so many of the folks who serve, regardless of rank or position, they've learned skills that absolutely translate. And when you have someone who has served, boy, I would imagine that when Swisher hires someone there, they know that that person is going to take the duties of the job and apply them and say, I'm going to get the job done. Right?
Well, they're highly skilled. They communicate well. They are good under pressure. They can handle crisis situations very easily. And so I'm not surprised to hear that salary number because I can think of a number of my colleagues who are in really critical roles at Swisher who have elevated our organization because of their past military experience.
Yeah. Michelle, tell me more about how many people you're able to serve. You just talked about in 2023, and we talked about a donation from Swisher earlier this year, just a month or so ago, that was $50,000. So it sounds like that's at least 10 people who get to go through the program?
Yeah, so it's
right?
50, that's correct. They were able to sponsor in that way. We do have 15 capped in our classes.
Okay.
Some are virtual.
And how long are the classes? What's that training process like?
And that's a tricky question because we offer our services in a couple different ways. One is live in Jacksonville, Florida, with a virtual aspect. So people come in from all over the country and are able to come into that live class. So it's as if they were actually right there. We also have classes in Tampa. So we do 2 a year live there. So we're able, boots on the ground, and then people come from all over the country as well. We also, and yeah, well, that's really exciting. We also have our military spouse program, which we do in the evenings. And we don't have more than 15 in each class because of the environment of the minute they walk in, we talk about who you were and who you are now. And you know, the Sandler training system is what we use to teach them, and it's a sales training tool. So we're teaching them how to sell themselves, but they got to figure out who they are now, minus their uniform. It's called Operational Uniform because it's nothing to do about suits. You guys look great, but we don't want suits. We try to get more people.
You get some done, right? No, that's not what the new uniform
all the time.
is.
They
Yes.
want to give us uniforms, and that's wonderful. God bless you. Most men don't even wear suits to work anymore.
Yeah.
But what we do is we're doing a change in mindset. So helping you understand that without that uniform, who are you now? You know, and it's such a completely different way of training people from the military, or anybody, quite frankly. Because what do you learn when you come out? Let me teach you how to do your resume. Let me teach you how to go out and talk to people. Let me teach you how to do a mock interview. But if you don't have this right, the rest of it's not going to work. I can teach you technique all day, but if you don't have the right attitude and behavior, technique is worthless. Yeah.
Early this week, I moderated a panel discussion at WJCT for a program. 4 veterans sitting next to me, all took questions from the audience, and we had some too, but each of them reflected on, boy, the toughest thing for me was that transition, and whether they had served 20 years and retired, or whether it was 4 years and one tour, it didn't matter.
Right.
The change was really, really tough. And I think part of what they were expressing was, it was mindset. And it was, I'm used to what we said earlier, a different language.
Right. So the first day that I went over to this organization to teach them about Sandler, quite frankly, we were going to scholar a veteran through our program. That's how this all started. One veteran back 10 years ago. But to teach them to come out and network, I've taught you how to do a 30-second commercial. Now, come with me to any networking event anywhere in Northeast Florida. I'll take you pro bono. You don't have to pay for a thing. And I looked at this group of people. I said, who wants to go with me? And how many people do you think raised their hands?
I'm going to say none.
Kent?
I'm with David.
Yeah, one.
Wow.
One guy. And that's how it all got started. I was like, well, I don't understand. Why would you not want to go? Free breakfast, lunch, dinner, pre-COVID. Free breakfast, lunch, dinner, any one of these organizations, the Business Journal, the Chamber, the this, and I'm rattling off all these different things. And can you imagine, they're looking at me like I was crazy. I said, I don't understand. Why am I the crazy one here? And they're like, Michelle, first of all, we don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
I don't know what the Chamber is. I don't know what the business, I don't understand that. So I was speaking a different language. So there in turn, I had to turn it around and say, let's start from scratch. What happens when you take off that uniform? What happens when now you're going to go into an organization and I'm going to introduce you as Kent? Imagine that instead of your nickname or your rank or whatever. You know, give them back their first name. We give them back a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah. What would your encouragement be, David, for other companies in our region who are wondering, how do I get involved, or what should I be doing in that veteran space?
Well, you know, don't just check a box. Don't just say we're going to set a table up at an event and interact with people, with their recruiters, and, you know, give them an interview. Actually form partnerships. And I think, you know, Swisher came out this year and we reintroduced our community engagement strategy. One of our key focuses was our nation's heroes and their families. And, you know, we find these organizations who are really doing great work, who are, you know, walking the walk, you know, helping folks go from here to here. And I think if you form those real partnerships, you're going to make a difference. And it's only going to help you as a company. It's only going to bring in highly skilled people. It's only going to make things better for your culture at your company as well. So we believe in the work that they're doing. We're proud to support. You know, I was fortunate enough to be at the 56th class graduation about a week and a half ago, and to hear the stories from these veterans that say, I didn't want to talk in a room, but here I am, and here's what I want to do, is very, very impactful.
Yeah. Well, this is, of course, the week of Veterans Day, and so some tangible ways to say thank you for your service to veterans are giving them a chance to take all that experience, that passion, that drive that they can have, and then be part of the economic growth and experience here in our area. Michelle McManaman, the CEO at Operation New Uniform. David Cotton, Manager of Corporate Communications for Swisher. Thank you to both of you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
So we're constantly working to bring you more interviews like this focused on economic growth in our region. So thank you for joining us for this Week in Jacksonville Business Edition.